Hello everybody, it's Caprice coming at you from my art studio here in Kimberley, BC. I'm gearing up to do a bit of a painting demo for you with my palette knife painting. Got my palette set up here, painting set up here. I am just planning on doing an art lecture. Oh, I had my camera going here now. I'm doing an art lecture this Saturday on Zoom. Now I gotta just get my camera. And we are going to be talking about palette knife painting. And should not have moved my camera. There we are. All right. On Saturday I'm going to do a Zoom lecture on palette knife painting. And some of my students have been a little bit concerned about doing a palette knife. And I wanted to come on today to show you how great palette knife painting is. If I can just get my camera set up. So you can see my painting. I have this set perfectly. Now what do I want to do? Sorry everybody. Perfectly, and then I moved my laptop. I want you to be able to see my painting. Which direction? Oh, shoot. What in the world have I done? There we go. What? Okay. On Saturday, I'm doing a palette knife lecture on Zoom. And palette knife painting is one of my most favorite ways to paint. And I wanted to come on today to let you know how great it really is. And the colors, the vibrancy, it loosens you up. It's really a great way to really apply the paint. So if you have any questions at all, please do leave a question here in the comment box. And I will answer anything you have. Let me just, hopefully, there we go. If only I had not touched my Facebook Live is not as easy as one would think. It's set up so perfectly, and now you can't see a thing. Let's see. All right, well, you get my painting instead of maybe not. Anyways, the painting is what's important. Palette knife painting, it really loosens you up. So when you're getting a little too tight with your theory and you want everything just so, this will help you to really give you new insight into the medium of the oil. And you don't necessarily have to go abstract. I really like the abstract look in my work when I do palette knife, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be an abstract. But you want to have your good composition kind of laid out already. And then it's kind of like icing a cake, my mentor used to teach me. And it's just, you get beautiful split colors when you do palette knife painting. Can you see the amount of different colors of paint that is on my palette knife? This is one of my most favorite palette knife that I own. And it was gifted to me by a friend who no longer used it. And I absolutely love this knife. This is my other favorite palette knife that I use on a regular basis. They're different sizes and they have different flexibility in the knife part. So it's good to keep in mind, get a variety of knives to use while you are doing it, and try out different things that you really like. Some people like them more rigid, firmer, and then other people like it with a bit more flexibility. So they all apply paint differently. And this is the type of shape that I like to use on a regular basis, but everyone is different. So try out a few knives and don't be afraid to just experiment. And look at your first palette knife painting as a real experiment, and just it's a a difference in theory, color theory, and it's just all about playing. It really is. So it's really important that you don't be afraid of the paint. It's basically just a canvas with some paints, and you can go up and down, you can go sideways. And I tend to not mix my colors a whole lot because I really like how, look at that, I just grabbed a huge wad of yellow ochre. And this is going to be for the sunny side of my painting. I'm going to lay that on, and I had a bit of purple on my knife, and I hope you can see that split color that I'm getting there, and that is just going to really add some zing. There, you see, I added that nice downstroke so that I get different directions, and you want some of your strokes to be long, some short. Don't be afraid to look at the color that's on my knife now. All different colors. Don't know if you can see that. There's reds, there's purples, there's yellows. It really splits the color on your canvas. And I don't know if you can tell, but this is going to be a tree. One of my big trees. You all know how I love to do trees. I'm going to throw in, let me see, what should I throw in next? I'm going to mix in a little white into that as well, just to lighten this side just a bit. Bit of burnt sienna maybe on that side with some white. And again, I don't want to overmix. Maybe throw in a touch of my vermilion red. You all know I like red in my trees, right? This is going to be my lighter side. Yeah. Ooh. The light side of my tree right here. And of course, you don't want to put your tree right smack dab in the middle of your canvas either. So make sure you have it slightly off-centered. You want to keep in mind your composition while you're painting. The big difference between using a palette knife and a paintbrush is a lot of this split color, and that's really, really important that you have, let the colors mix on the canvas. Don't overmix on your palette. You can see, let's see if, can you see this? Look at the amount of, ooh, there's the knife. See the amount of different colors I've got happening on there? Beautiful. And then that will be transferred to my painting. Now, this is the lights hitting this side of the tree, then I'll have a middle light, and then the dark is going to stay on this side, and I'm going to have different directions of paint strokes. And some going down. And another real good value in doing a palette knife painting is you don't want to be too tripped up about it looking great at all times, because sometimes the value in a palette knife painting is you want to be able to scrape off some paint at the same time. So I'm going to go in there, and instead of putting it on, I'm going to take some paint off. Ooh, I'm going to drag some of this dark stuff over. I'm going to take some of that and put it down. This is a lot of fun doing these kind of paintings. They are not meant to be rigid. The magic happens when you allow accidents to come through. And so don't worry so much. This is why it really helps to loosen you up. And sometimes when I'm working on commission work and really, tightening up, or if I got some stress in my life and I'm trying to paint while I'm like not relaxed, then I will go in and I'll do a palette knife painting just to kind of get the flow happening again. And it's really good for it. I recommend all painters do a palette knife on occasion just to really loosen things up. And it will keep those, keep you from getting so in your head all the time. Okay, so that's going to be my my tree part. And I'm going to just do a little bit of green happening over here. Just so you can have a few different strokes here. See what's going to go on with some green. Throw a little permanent green deep, a little chrome oxide, maybe a bit of yellow into there. We'll just do a few fronds over here so you can get a good... Oh, and do you hear that sound? I hope you can hear that sound. A little bit more permanent green. You want some green going in both directions. And it's going to be loose. It's going to be lively. It's going to be fun. Don't forget to have fun while you're doing this. This is just paint and canvas. It's not meant to be the Mona Lisa. We're not doing the Sistine Chapel here today. We are just having a good time and really just playing with some paint. That's what I want everybody to really get a feel for. And my lecture this Saturday, I don't want to sound like I'm being a salesperson, even though I kind of sort of am. But I want you to really consider taking the lecture, because I think this is a skill that's really important for all oil painters to have. It's just, if you take yourself way too seriously and aren't willing to try some new things on occasion, then you're not going to be a very good oil painter, to be honest with you. You really need to try different things and not have so many expectations that everything's going to turn out perfectly all the time, because it really isn't. And it doesn't matter how many years you've been painting, it will not always turn out perfectly. And different knives work for different strokes. I hope you guys can see it all. Let me just take a quick peek. I'm scared to move the camera, but I want to take a quick look-see. Ooh, if you guys can have a closer look at that painting there. Doesn't really look like a whole lot of trees, but let me see if anybody has any comments here. No comments, please. Oh, please do leave any questions that you may have in the comments here. I'm really here to answer any questions you may have. My lecture this Saturday will be a full-on 1 hour where we'll be doing nothing but palette knife painting. And I hope you guys can get a really good view of the colors I've used. I've used a lot of color, and they've barely been mixed at all. Mostly just laid on pure pigment right onto the canvas here. And it's a process of unraveling when you're doing a palette knife painting. And you really want to let it happen. Let it just unfold as it's meant to. These paintings that's one of the joys of palette, is that surprises happen on a regular basis. And I will go in there with my theory, and I will add more highlights on the one side of the tree. I will add more lights on this side of the greenery, add in my sky holes. Just let it be free, let it unfold. And sometimes, as I said earlier, you want to go in and you really want to scrape some paint off. Instead of applying paint, you want to take your palette knife and you want to take some paint off. And sometimes that gives you even better split color than you could ever imagine. Ooh, look at what just happened there. Let's try what happens up here. Ooh, what happens if we take that backwards? What happens if? That's going to be one thing that you're going to say frequently when you are doing a knife painting. What happens if I try this? What would happen if I did that? And you'll clean up your edges maybe a little later at the end of your paint day. you won't know if this painting is going to turn out until the painting is done. It changes as it goes. The paint will just keep talking to you, and you've just got to really kind of, I want to say one of those things that's really, that term that's bantered around. You got to be in the moment, or it doesn't work out so well. You really do. And I'm going to put a bunch of greenery down here. And the one thing that's super important when you're doing a palette knife painting, you want to really work quickly. You also want to make sure you can kind of get it done in a sitting or two, because by tomorrow these paint will start setting up and there'll be ridges in the paint, and it'll be a lot harder to go over once again afterwards. So make sure you really kind of have a little time set aside to do your painting. Now, if anybody of you have any questions for me at all, just leave some in the comments, even if it's later today. If you missed the live session today, I can come back to you. I'll answer any questions you have in the comments. So whenever you're listening to this, please feel free to ask, and I will answer later on. If you are able to make my Zoom lecture on Saturday, this Saturday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, you can register at the link I've provided under this video, or go to my website. It's all the information's posted there. And I really hope you can come and hang out with me on Saturday for a while. We're going to do another full-on hour of palette knives. So I hope today has inspired you. And thanks for joining in. And again, please do leave your comments. And I really look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for being here today. Thank you. Have a great day. Happy Monday. Bye for now.